Hello and welcome. I am Charissa with Cook with a Shoe, which is a personal finance blog where I share my story of becoming debt free while paying cash for my husband's education. And I am also here to serve you by teaching you the value of living life on a shoestring budget by choice so that you can gain control of your money and reach your financial goals. Today, I am super excited to bring you another Destroying Debt interview with my dear friend, Andrea. I have known Andrea for a long time, and I have been inspired by how she and her husband have committed to live on a budget in order to pay off their debts quickly, all the while paying cash for Andrea's master's degree and saving up money for a down payment on a house. Andrea also helps keep me accountable with my own budget. So, without further ado, let me bring in Andrea. Welcome, Andrea.
Thank you.
I'm so glad you could join us today. Now, tell me, what was the moment that you realized how much debt you had and that you needed to do something about it? Tell me about that.
Well, for me, it started in college with financing my education. And so the first time I took out a loan in my junior year at a private, expensive school, the very first time I signed that promissory note, I just, had that feeling of weight because that was my only debt. My parents had raised us to be cautious about debt, so I didn't have any car debt or credit card debt or anything like that. Um, but taking on those student loans each semester until I graduated, that kind of sunk in on me that, this was a pretty huge responsibility. And then after I graduated, the process of repaying them back and not making a whole lot of money, it really sunk in, on how big of a responsibility that was.
So, did you just have your student loans, or what did you have any other loans as well, or other debt?
Well, for me personally, it was just student loans. That's the only debt I've ever carried. However, I married and we merged finances. And so he got my student loans, and then I inherited his uh, credit card debt from a previous marriage that was part of their divorce settlement. It was his responsibility to pay off her credit card. And so that was the only credit card debt I'd ever experienced, and same with him. I got that, and then we ended up with a mortgage on a house that we were not living in and we're trying to get rid of. So incurred a mortgage and a credit card debt, and he got my student loans, so we all shared it. So that's our debt.
One of the benefits of being married, it's for richer and for poorer and for everyone else's debts too, right?
Yes. Well, and we were very open about our finances, and as we were engaged and wanted to do like joint accounts and that sort of thing. And so we both knew what we were taking on financially in getting married, and how we were going to tackle it as well.
So, with all of that, if you don't mind me asking, how much debt did you start off with?
Well, my loans starting out were 40,000. And then the credit card debt was 2,000 is what was left when we got married. Um, and then we were able to sell that home, but as a result, we were upside down on it, and we ended up having to take out a loan of 6,000 to cover some of the money we lost. We were able to use our savings to pay for some of it, but then had to take out a loan for the remainder part of that. So all of those together and added up to quite a bit.
Now, did you had been paying on your student loan since you
Mhm.
graduated college, but was there a time where you're like, this is a lot of debt with all this house and this credit card, and we need to do something more about it?
Yes, well, it's kind of has been in pieces. So after I graduated and I got a job, um, as a single girl, I kept my expenses pretty low and did some side hustles. I taught some classes and did some commissioned artwork in addition to my full-time job. So I worked a lot and I funneled quite a bit of that money, probably not as much as I should have, but I funneled a fair portion of it into extra payments on my loans. And then after we got married, things were pretty tight because I was only working part-time. And he was in not as good of a paying job as he's in now. So we did what we could. We really wanted to tackle that credit card. And we worked really hard, probably our first 6 months of marriage, in getting that completely wiped out. And it was such a great feeling when that was gone. So it's kind of been in spurts. And then I was able to get a better job, and he was too. And so we were able to put more money into the debt that we owed on the house that we sold. And that was kind of what we focused on, that, and then paying for having a baby along the way too. So all the little unexpected extra expenses there too.
But you've cash flowed that part
Yes, we
mostly.
did. Yeah, we were able to pay for all of that with the help of good insurance, but it still was, I think, about between 4,000 and 5,000 were our expenses that we incurred with prenatal and birth and pediatrician and all of that. So.
Kids are definitely not cheap.
No, they're not.
Now, so what motivates you to want to be debt free? Why are you working so hard to do that?
Well, now that we are living on just one income, we had to tighten up quite a bit. We've always been pretty conservative with our finances and budgeting and that sort of thing, but we're definitely having to tighten our belts more. And so I would like us to have a little bit more breathing room month to month, not having hundreds of dollars that we're paying per month on my student loan. Having that freed up to be able to take a trip or just to have a little bit of breathing room in our finances. So that's really what we're working towards right now.
So does that sound like the credit card is paid off and the house debt that you incurred is paid off?
Yes. So our only debt that we carry right now is we have $25,000 left in student loans. So for large amounts still. And then we bought another house, so we have a mortgage along with that.
Well, at least you're living in this one house.
Yes, we are. This is one that we wanted.
Which is a little bit of a better pill to swallow when you're signing that mortgage check.
Yes, I mean, and ideally we would have loved to have paid cash, but our living situation, we just wanted to be in our own place and that sort of thing. So we made a sacrifice there and taken on more debt with a mortgage. So.
But in doing that, you also saved up quite a bit of money for a down payment.
Yes, we did. We were able to save up a pretty decent down payment, and we got a good deal on a foreclosure. So we tried to be as conservative as we could with taking on more debt. So those things helped for sure.
Well, I know just in the last several years, with all this turnaround that you've done, you probably actually have done more than you think you have with paying down a lot on your student loans. You paid for your baby. You got rid of the credit cards. You got rid of that old house. You saved up money for a new down payment. And you're also paying cash for a master's degree. So
yes,
how are you doing that?
That we're kind of setting aside monthly amounts, so it's not a big shock when tuition payment comes. And with that, I determined after taking on so much debt in undergrad, I knew when I wanted a master's degree that I was not going to take that route again, as taking on more debt. And so in order to do that, I went slow. It's taken me about 4 years. So I've done one class per trimester. In order to be able to afford it, and then have just budgeted very carefully. And we set aside, my husband's job is he gets some overtime and some bonuses and those types of things we will help set aside to add towards tuition payments as well. So it won't be long before that will be gone and we'll be throwing that money on our debt.
How exciting and super
Yes.
impressive. I don't know very many people who have paid cash for their master's degree, and paying cash for my husband's school is definitely anyone else who does it, you kind of have a little connection and can you just admire them because you know how hard it is to pay cash for school. So I really appreciate that.
Thank you.
Now, do you said you've been having to tighten down your belts a little bit with finances. Do you follow a budget, and how does that work?
Yes, we do. And then we've been a little bit in flux since we moved into our new house in 1st of July. And we actually had only the month before we're doing some fix-ups. So we kind of had to take a couple of months to see what our average utilities were going to be and some of those extra budget items that we were needing to add in. But I have tried apps, I've tried computerized things. Good old pencil and paper works really great for me. I, I love that there's technology out there. I don't know, it's something about just writing it out. And then online banking is wonderful too, so I can check our statements and reconcile things and always know how much is in our accounts at a moment's notice. So that's always definitely helpful with that. So we're watching it a lot closer now that our belts are tight.
And I've seen that budgeting and paying attention to your money is such a huge, big step to actually making your goals, to paying off your debt, or in my case, saving or paying for school, either whatever you're trying to do. But if you don't pay attention, it seems like you get to the end of the month and you're like, where's all this money that I earned? Where did it go? And I was planning to have all this extra to put towards, whatever. And I have $10. How does this happen?
Well, it's amazing when you start tracking it. And as we kind of made it a game, to see what we can cut out and really how much we can save. We both thankfully are on the frugal side of things. And so it's fun for us to see, oh, we spend that much eating out or buying Post-it notes or whatever. Hey, what can we do instead? And doing simple things, cloth diapering, and just little ways we can cut corners and really make things as low as we can.
And that adds up a lot over time, just
Sure
those
does.
little miles, if you are able to track those. Now, do you and your husband have the same mindset of paying down debt and working together? Give us some suggestions on that.
We do. The way it works in our house is I like doing the budgeting, and so I'm the one that does the detail part of things. We discuss our priorities, and we will meet periodically. We don't really meet regularly, but when it comes, when one or the other of us is thinking about it, we'll sit down and say, hey, this is where we are. What are some of our goals? That sort of things. But we are very similar in our priorities with money. He's a little more okay with credit card debt than I am. I'm pretty strongly against that, and so we've held off on getting our credit card so far, and I would like for it to remain that way. But overall, we've been able to work really well together on our finances.
And that helps a lot if you are able to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you mentioned you've done some side hustles. Do you feel like that's a big part to your success in paying off debt and paying cash for some of these things?
Yes, and my husband has pitched into when he was at his previous job, he had to do weekends on call, and so he would take another guy's weekend, and the guy would pay him a couple $100 to do that. And he can go in and do overtime or work a holiday and do well. So that's kind of his side hustle. Mine had been a variety of things. I'm hoping to get back into it a little bit more. Start doing some things on the side as well. But it definitely helps to have that extra income coming in, and it's kind of just sometimes it's like a surprise or just a bonus. It's not money that you're budgeting on, but it's something that you can throw towards your debts. Or if you're debt free, you can do something fun with it.
Or pay for another tuition of school.
Or that.
Now, do you have a what? Well, let me start over. I have just recently seen the power of making your goals visual, especially when it comes to money goals. Have you done any of that?
I have not. You actually were the first that had even put that thought in my mind. I never even considered it before. And so after reading some of your posts, that actually inspired me, which I haven't done it yet, but I did look up my balances on the 2 student loans that I have and actually found out the exact amount, which I didn't know. And so I'm glad that I do. And so I'm wanting to make something that's more visual. I'm a very visual person, so I think that's something that's going to resonate with me and something that you've encouraged me to do.
Well, that makes me happy. I just have found it being so incredible in helping me with some of my savings goals.
Hmm.
And I had heard about it years before, but I just like, oh, phew, that's not going to help me. But you
Right.
know what? It really does. And it doesn't have to be, it can be as fancy or as simple as you like, but making your goals visual and then tracking them is really motivating to be able to say, well, I've done this much. Maybe I can squeeze out a little bit more this month and see if I
Exactly.
can make my balances go the way I want them to go a little bit faster.
And I think that's great because I really haven't been as diligent about paying off my student loans as we have been with every other debt that we've had. I think partially because it's such a large amount, it almost seems overwhelming, and it just seems like it's never going to be gone, you know. But I think actually seeing the results of those extra payments that we can throw at it whenever we can, um, is going to help us to really whittle it down as fast as we can. That's something that I'm really wanting to get more focused on getting that cleared out.
Well, another thing that might be helpful is if you have a large goal like that, breaking it down. I can't wrap my mind about how much I need to save for the duration of my husband's school.
Mm-hmm.
It is such a big number. But if I go by semester is much more manageable. I feel like I'm making progress. And so maybe something like that, breaking some of your loans down into, whatever increments you want. And then
Mm-hmm.
now tell me, do you have a support system? Is it just you and your husband? Do you have other people who are supporting you, or do you kind of feel like you're in this on your own? And what are you
Pretty
going to
much.
do?
Well, I feel like we have a pretty good support system. I know you're one because we talk regularly, and you encourage me a lot to stay focused and give me the kicks in the pants that I need sometimes. Um, so that definitely helps. My parents are very much on board with a debt free lifestyle, very much so. It's kind of hard because I think a lot of us have grown up thinking that it's not polite to talk about our finances, and you need to know, the right context for it and how much information to give and not give. But I think a lot of us keep quiet about our struggles. And it's so much more freeing to open up and to talk with other people. But honestly, I would say just a couple of close friends and family are really the ones that know what we're doing, and they're very, very supportive of our goals.
I found it's helpful to have, just those handful of people who are really like, yay, you can do it, go for it, and kicking you in the pants if need be. But some people are kind of negative about, like, why are you doing that? Oh, you're not going to go out and come out with us because you're doing what with money? And
Mhm.
those people stay away from. Don't talk about your money journeys with them because you don't need any more negativity. I mean, staring at a whole load of debt is enough negativity that you need, and you don't need any people out there who are trying to dissuade you from your financial goals or, you know, hamper you and get in the way of them because
Exactly.
it's not their money and it's not their life, so it's none of their business.
One thing I think we've run into, and I don't know exactly how to handle, is with very well-meaning family and friends. They want to pay for us whenever we go out. If we mention, the reason that we've declined an invitation, so that's a hard thing to know exactly what to say without feeling like you're asking for somebody to pay your way. That's one thing I haven't figured out. But that comes from too much support, maybe. Lots of
Or
kindness.
if you don't, I mean, it's not that you don't have the money, you just have a better purpose for the money. I've gotten that
Mm-hmm.
too. And, you know, I ended up changing and saying, you know what? Why don't you come over for dinner? We'd love to see you guys. And then I
That's
cook because I can control the cost of how much I cook.
exactly.
And I don't have to worry about like we're going out for drinks or for dinner or, and spending extra money that I wasn't budgeting on.
Mm-hmm.
Now, do you have a method of paying down your debts? Do you I know there's snowball ones. There's one of my previous interviewer persons I interviewed she saved up all the money for one bill and then paid it off all at once and then saved up for another bill. Do you have any methods of paying down your debt?
I would say loose ones. Um, you know me, I'm not a super structured person. I can be in some ways, but not in others. So I'm loosely structured. So our method is kind of a combination of snowball and what I call spray and pray. Whenever there's extra money, throw a little bit onto the debt. But we started out by tackling the smallest debt first, and then with the student loan, since I've got two and they're very similar interest rates, we're paying a little bit extra on the one with the smaller balance. Is kind of how we determined that. And then, like I said, whenever extra things come in, we can throw that onto the debt. So kind of a combination of methods.
I love that spray and what did you say? Spray and
Pray and pray. I don't
know. Well, that's another great method. Now, do you have a target date for when you're expected to finish paying off your loans? From my calculations, it seems like you're about halfway done with all your debt, and you've reached that halfway mark.
I think so, and I really want it to be faster than that because I graduated from undergrad in 2007, so that's what 8 years of taking us this long. And I think that the average is the repayment plan is 20 years, I think, and I'm not okay with that. And so I don't know. I need to sit down with an amortization table or something like that to actually figure. That one's a little hard for me because it's large numbers. To me, they're large numbers anyhow. I'd like it to be as soon as possible, but no, we haven't actually pinpointed a date. But that's something that we need to do because right now it's too ambiguous, and it really is easy to keep paying the minimum payment and use extra money for other things, especially when you're on a tight budget. So we need to focus in a little bit more on that.
Well, either way, you are making great progress, even if you don't think you do. I've seen in the last 3 years, especially, how much progress you have made. And it's encouraging me and kept me on track, like I've said before, with just seeing how fast you have been able to make a big turnaround. Now, tell me, after you pay off your student loans, is there anything that you're going to be willing to take on any more debt for?
No. The one debt that we were willing to take on was a mortgage, and that's something that we weighed carefully and really talked and prayed about. But other than that, no. We want to have enough. We've got a good emergency fund built up, so if things go wrong in our house, when things have gone wrong already, we've been able to pay for things with cash. And that's important to us. So no car, nothing to me is worth it. And with our son, he's tiny now, but we're really wanting to encourage him to pay for college with cash and not to get into the same boat that I did, because it's a weight that people are much better living without if there's any way possible to do it.
I agree. I think the student loans, the good debt that everyone says that education debt is only good until you get your graduation diploma. After that, the day after, and you have to start paying it back, that debt, with it being so large and just taking so long to pay back, suddenly becomes not so good anymore. It really becomes a huge burden on so many people, and it really hinders you from living the fullness of your life, enjoying life, and also being able to make a difference, because it's hard to make a difference if you are living so tight and all your money is going out to pay all these loans back.
It certainly is. And so, yeah, and that was a weight I felt even before I graduated. Every semester I would just feel, a sinking feeling whenever I took out a loan, but I did it anyway. But yeah, it's definitely something that's better to live without.
Well, I have finished all my questions. Oh, I do have one more. What is some advice you can give to somebody who wakes up and has all this debt that they're trying to pay off and they don't know where to go? What would you tell them?
I would say the same things that you advise people to do, to get on a budget, to try to cut expenses, to really visualize the goal and really make it important, because it is easy to lose focus. You know, a lot of us get trapped into just living with it and making those minimum payments, but really think about, dream about what they can do if they didn't have that debt. And to realize that, some progress is better than no. You know, some people don't make any progress because they think, oh, I can't make a double payment, or I can't save up $20,000 to just knock it out. Do whatever you can. For a couple of years, all I was able to do was send in $20 extra on one loan payment. But my dad encouraged me with that. He said, you know how many years it's going to take off. In the end, it's going to do something. So do whatever you can, but also stay focused would be the advice that I would
And those are great points. It sounds like you're saying to read my blog.
give.
But
Yes.
that also brought up another question. Have you had moments where you've been discouraged and just felt like this is not worth it? What am I even doing?
Many times, yes. Many times. It is discouraging to think of all that money that's going out every month, to just pay back something that you already have, Um, and when it feels like you're not making any progress, it's easier with the smaller loans. And having that foundation of success has definitely helped us, because we look back on that. We think, look how fast we paid off that credit card. Look how fast we paid off that $6,000 loan for the house payment, the house repairs. We can do this. We can do this. It's just a bigger sum, but we can definitely do it. So having someone there, husband, friend, mother, father, anybody that can help encourage you is definitely key.
Is that the biggest thing that's kind of broken you up out of that slump and given you a new motivation to keep fighting it?
Yes, definitely. Definitely.
Okay, well, do you have any other last minute things to add that I haven't addressed, I haven't covered?
Not that I can think of. And hopefully, my story can encourage anybody who's still in the process, because I'm not there yet and I've made mistakes. But we've made progress, and we're really determined to get to that end goal. So hopefully that can speak to someone along the way who's in the same shoes that I am. So don't give up. Just keep paying it down as quick as you can.
And like Andrea said, even if you just have the ability to make that $20 extra payment on top of your regular payment, just keep doing it, have a plan, and have a goal and make the goal visual. I am just so making the goals visual in the last, I'd say about 4, 5, 6 months for me has changed everything for me.
Mm-hmm.
And so I definitely encourage you to do the same. And, I'm here to help you, and I'll be bringing stories like Andrea's to encourage you that you can do this, and you can also pay off your debt, and you can have that freedom and that sense of relief that to enjoy your life and
Mm-hmm.
not be so tied up in paying back payments. So now, Andrea, do you have any place that we can find you, or if we wanted to know more about you, or do you just want to pop in once in a while on the blog and say hi?
I can definitely do that. I'm on Facebook, but that's pretty much my only social media or presence on the web.
Well, I don't just interview bloggers. I interview real people who have real debt and they are making real progress at paying it off. So thank you very much, Andrea, for joining me today. This has been an inspiring interview, and I know I have been encouraged and motivated just to see how hard you're working and how much progress you are making. And I'm sure my readers will be as well. So thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you.
And thank you also for joining me for another Destroying Debt interview, where I showcase an amazing story of somebody who is working like crazy to pay off all their debt, so I can give you hope that you can do the same thing. You can always find me at cookwithashoe.com, or you can follow me at Cook with a Shoe on Facebook, Twitter, Google+, and Instagram. Of course, if you liked this interview, please subscribe to the Cook with a Shoe YouTube channel, where you will receive notice when a new video is posted, and head on over to cookwithashoe.com for the show notes. Until next time, I'm Charissa, and I'm here to serve you by showing you how to gain control of your money and reach your financial goals.